Now, we move on to a story that is unfortunately as serious as it gets. This is in Axios, reporting by Andrew Friedman. An extreme heat belt will soon emerge in the U.S., study warrants. That doesn't sound too good to me. I don't know about you guys. I mean, look, I'm a fan of the summer. I'm a fan of warm weather. Extreme heat belt seems a little much. Counties expected to experience heat indices? I thought it was heat indexes. Okay. Maybe I'm not really familiar with that word. Anyway, I'm an idiot. Glad all of you are watching me. I love y'all. Above 125 degrees Fahrenheit by 2053. 125. Good googly moogly. So just put that in perspective for everybody. So the other day I played golf. And it was the hottest day of the year. And the feels like temperature was 107 degrees. By the end of that round, I was done. Like, I drank so much water during the course of that round, didn't make a difference. You would drink it, you'd immediately sweat it out. It wouldn't do anything. And then, I still knew after the fact I was dehydrated because my piss was highlighter ass yellow. And this is with drinking nonstop, right? So I know that 107, the feels like of 107, is my absolute limit. If it was 108, I would have had to quit. Because I was pouring water over my head and trying anything I could to keep cool, and it was just oppressively hot, right? 107 is my limit. We're talking a feels like of 125? 125. Jesus Christ. So here you can see on the map where they're talking about. I guess this is the 125 heat belt. Now I'm going to give you more specifics, because when they say 125, what they mean is one day a year of a feels like of 125, but there's also many more days now of over 100 feels like for vast swaths of the country. A new study reveals the emergence of an extreme heat belt from Texas to Illinois, where the heat index could reach 125 degrees Fahrenheit at least one day a year by 2053. In just 30 years, climate change will cause the lower 48 states to be far hotter and more precarious place to be during the summer. The findings come from a hyper-local analysis of current and future extreme heat events published Monday by the nonprofit First Street Foundation. The new report is unique for examining current and future heat risks down to the property level across the country and joins similar risk analyses First Street has completed for flooding and wildfires. As average temperatures increase due to human-driven greenhouse gas emissions, mainly from the burning of fossil fuels for energy, instances of extreme heat are forecast to escalate. This report makes clear where households will be vulnerable to what would now be considered almost unheard of heat indices, which show how the air feels from the combination of air temperature and relative humidity. The report, which is based on First Street's peer-reviewed heat model, shows that the number of Americans currently exposed to extreme heat, defined as having a maximum heat index of greater than 125 degrees Fahrenheit, is just 8 million. Okay, so right now, and the people in the country who have experienced at one time or another 125 degrees or more is just 8 million. However, due to the anticipated warming during the next 3 decades, the number is expected to balloon to 107 million people, an increase of 13 times over 30 years. Think about that. You're going from 8 million to 107 million. Wow. The developing extreme heat belt forms a region of vulnerability from northern Texas to Illinois and includes the cities of St. Louis, Kansas City, Memphis, Tulsa, and Chicago. By 2030, some coastal areas in the southeast and mid-Atlantic may also experience days with a heat index above 125 degrees. The report shows a country that will have to grapple with the effects of increased heat exposure nearly everywhere, though there will be distinctions based on geography. For example, the study finds that in 2053, the West will have the highest chance for long durations with local hot days, which are days that exceed the temperatures typically experienced for a particular area. The Gulf and the Southeast will see the highest chances and longest duration of exposure to what are termed dangerous days with a heat index greater than 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The states likely to see the greatest growth in dangerous days are Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, and Florida, First Street's analysis found. And then they go on to say, Miami-Dade County is of particular risk. Look at this part. Many spots currently see more than 20 straight days with heat indices above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. However, by 2053, such streaks could be as many as 74 consecutive days. 74 consecutive days above 100 degrees Fahrenheit for the feels like. The study also sheds light on cooling demand-driven. The study also sheds light on cooling demand driven by the increasingly hot conditions. By the way, AC should definitely be a right, because I believe it's only heat that's viewed as a human right. But AC now, I mean, it strikes me, I don't see any way around it. Because now with all these various heat waves happening around the world, we've had instances of like over 1,000 people dying because some places and some regions around the world, they just don't have AC. A bunch of people just don't have AC because the temperature is normally, kind of mild in certain areas. But now with these heat waves in random places, I mean, there was a huge issue in, where was it, Seattle or Portland, where they had this long heat wave and some people died because of that. There was a heat wave that they were just talking about in the UK where over 1,000 people died, or at least other parts of Europe as well, I think. So this is serious stuff. The U.S. is already seeing the clear fingerprints of human-caused global warming on extreme heat events. Last month, for example, the country's nighttime lows were the warmest on record for any month. Unusually hot overnight temperatures during heat waves increase the risk to public health of heat-related illness. In addition, the number of warm temperature records outnumbered the cold temperature records by a ratio of nearly 8 to 1. 8 to 1. So, I mean, look, we know what we're seeing here. It's not a mystery. And again, we have to start viewing climate change not as something, this is going to happen at some undetermined date in the future. No, it's happening right now. We're in the midst of it. It's full swing, man. And that Inflation Reduction Act, it has some decent provisions in it, right? Like, we all agree to that, but we're not talking anywhere near enough, dog. I mean, we are nowhere near enough, because this is a crisis that's coming on to us very rapidly. Very rapidly, and we're largely unprepared. And if we're keeping it 100% real here, one of the biggest problems is, of course, the fossil fuel industry buying our government, the fossil fuel industry buying governments all around the world, I'm sure, so that they get their way, and also just the incentive structure of capitalism. The idea of maximizing profit being the main thing that you're concerned about, that you're worried about. Well, then you run into this issue of externalities. And one of the externalities is not just pollution, but also climate change. And so here we are. Buckle up, because this is, of course, at the same time, all sorts of extreme weather events are ticking up everywhere. Regions are changing. Some regions that didn't get much rain in the past are getting way too much rain right now. Some places that got a lot of rain in the past are not getting any rain right now. I'm so dyslexic. Drought and famine. I almost said fout and dramin. I don't know why any of you listen to my dumbass speak. So drought and famine. Obviously, sea level rise. Certain places becoming uninhabitable. We're just getting started, dog. And it ain't pretty. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.